the 24th, and we have a busy agenda for both our 1 o'clock and our 3 o'clock meeting. I would begin today with special presentations and public comments. We will begin today with a man who's no stranger to any of us, and Mr. Dwayne Ballou with the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. Mr. Ballou, if you could make your way as gingerly as possible. There's so many things I'd like to say, but I'll welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fivas, thank you for the invitation to come today.
To say it.
Members of the City Council and all you folks in the audience, thank you for giving me a chance today to speak to you about something that's near and dear to my heart, probably near and dear to most of your hearts. I'm wearing the 85 jersey because 40 years ago, there was a doctor in Washington State who started the Relay for Life. It's become the signature fundraising event for the American Cancer Society, and I'm always pleased to say I'm a volunteer for the Cancer Society, and I'm a longtime event chair for the Relay for Life, and depending on who you ask, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm here today just to tell you briefly, the Relay for Life again this year is in downtown Cleveland. It's on Saturday, May the 3rd. We always appreciate the City Council's support, the support of the Cleveland Police Department, and so many others in helping us prepare for our event downtown. We raise a lot of money thanks to people like Ken Webb and so many others, our volunteers, our sponsors, our teams. And all of that money goes to the American Cancer Society. It goes to research, it goes to support survivors, it goes to encourage caregivers, it goes to organizations like our Hope Lodge for families of individuals who have been diagnosed with cancer and dealing with it. So we approach it in a very serious manner, but you might guess by my hat that I also have some fun when I'm dealing with things. Our theme this year is Western. Let's wrangle cancer. So if you're available that day or sometime between then, put on your cowboy boots, your chaps, your hats, whatever it might be. Help us raise some money, encourage survivors and caregivers, and come down and help us. Now, two people up here on the City Council have been supportive of us in a unique way a couple of times, and this year I'm pleased to announce we have the 3rd annual Mayfield Dairy Ice Cream Sandwich Eating Contest. So if somebody's looking for a way to support us that might be sweet and tasty, you can eat one, you can eat half of one, or like our first couple of winners the first year, they ate 25 in a total of 6 minutes. You don't have to do that, but we'd be glad to have you, and we'll have enough. Wow. You're laughing at it, Dwayne, but you could do it. I believe in you, brother. You could do it. Anyway, so the 3rd annual Mayfield Dairy Ice Cream Sandwich Eating Contest. So this year I was also thinking about what else can I do as an individual to raise money for such an important cause. So I was driving back from Atlanta, and I don't know what this says about me, but I was thinking about fundraising, and I thought, hey, everybody's talking about the price of eggs, right? It's on the news, it's on the social media. I said, let's have a raffle. So what I'm doing, and you've got some information about it, you can go online, you can pay me. I'm going to sell 100 raffle tickets, $25 a ticket, and the winner's going to be drawn on April the 1st, and the winner's going to win a year's supply of eggs, 52 dozen eggs. It'll be gift cards. You don't have to buy them all in the same day. You can, but you don't have to. $25 a ticket, and all that money goes to the American Cancer Society. Let me close by saying this. Again, thank you very much for your support over the many years. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the American Cancer Society, and the work you help us do is so important. The last thing I would say is simply this. The one thing that we focus on as a committee is we never lose sight of the importance of the love and the encouragement and the prayer that we can give to cancer survivors. So if you or someone you know is a cancer survivor, I would encourage you, go to our website, just type in your search bar, Cleveland Bradley Relay for Life, and you'll find out how to get somebody registered. Doesn't cost them any money. We will mail them a t-shirt. If they come on site to the relay on May the 3rd, we will present them some additional gifts, and they are always our honored guests for the opening lap. We never lose sight that it's survivors that we're working for today, along with the people who love and care for them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any questions for our friends from the American Cancer Society? Thank you very much for coming.
We need to get a picture with the mayor and the vice mayor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, all those in favor are going to vote yes out here. I got a feeling those guys are going to vote no, but thank you very much.
I ain't chicken.
He ain't checking. By the way, I got a joke for you before I leave, okay? Come on up here. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the vice mayor.
That's close. Ken Webb, as if we prepared. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Let me think. Oh, the American Cancer Society Relay for Life is in Cleveland on May 3rd on the other side of the road, and he wanted to go.
That's the man right there. Come up here. Is that good or what? Almost as if he practiced that. Thank you all very much. One more.
One more.
Paparazzi, babe.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, friend. Thank y'all.
Granddaughter will love that. Look at Papa. Big chicken.
Mayor, I might add that
Please do.
over the years, our local relay here has been awarded many awards for the work that they have done in promoting the raising of funds for cancer research.
It's a great organization.
There's a lot of fun involved, but it's a serious issue, and they have done a great job with it.
It's a great organization. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, we have another special presentation today. It's Encompass Health Rehabilitation. I believe Mr. Craig is here, and if you'll state your name for the record, thanks so much for coming.
Hi, my name's Craig Lambert. I didn't know chicken costumes or others might be required. Feel a little bit underdressed for the occasion, but I'm Craig Lambert. I'm the CEO for Encompass Health Rehab Hospital in Chattanooga, and thanks so much for giving me just a few moments to talk to you about something exciting, a potential growth opportunity here for Cleveland and Bradley County. So Encompass Health is the largest inpatient provider for rehab health in the United States. Our company has 167 hospitals across the United States, and we've been in Chattanooga for quite some time. Our most recent opening is down in Athens, Georgia. That makes 167. We've been on a growth strategy as a company for quite some time. We've been really growing a lot in Florida because there's no certificate of need requirement in that state. So you'll see about 15 new Encompass hospitals in that state over the last 3 years. But that doesn't stop where we would like to grow and where we can grow. And so as the nation's largest provider for inpatient rehab, we are very interested in coming to Cleveland and Bradley County. So we have filed an intent to file a certificate of need with the state to build a 40-bed inpatient rehab facility right here in Cleveland at 2100 Stevens Road Northeast. It's about a it's about a $60 million build, and we would employ about 200 new employees. About 150 of those would be full-time, and the rest would be part-time and PRN. So a part of the certificate of need process is letting the community know that we have an intent. Then there's quite a process to go through in the state of Tennessee, and it starts by us filing our official application and intent at the end of the month. And then there's a 60-day process, and then we'll hopefully go in front of the adjudication and the board right around the 1st of June. So a piece of that is requesting letters of support for the initiative for the applicant, Encompass Health. And that's why I'm here today, to come to ask for a letter of support from the mayor, from council members, or jointly to support our new proposal and initiative here in Cleveland. We have been in Chattanooga, as I mentioned, for quite some time, providing this level of care. This level of care right now is not available in your community. In fact, in this 3-county area north of Chattanooga, there's not an inpatient rehab hospital. Your closest inpatient rehab hospitals are in Knoxville and in Chattanooga. So this really will serve a need for your families and for your community. We are looking forward to winning approval through the state, and I would pass on others that we have been in contact with for support, including Adam Lowe, the state senator from this district. He has provided already a letter of support, as well as Kevin Raper, your representative from this area as well. In fact, I think he's just out of a medical procedure, and he's actually the first one to provide the letter of support for us upon request. Also Avail Assisted Living and Cleveland State, and we're still working requests with Lee University, Cleveland State, as well as Bradley Medical Center. So I just come to you humbly ask for a letter of support. We can provide a draft, and I think we already have to Joe. Joe, thanks for the opportunity to come today. And we just appreciate your consideration and support.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Any comments or questions from the council?
Do you have a card?
I do. I can leave actually a couple of things. I have kind of what we do and some of our modalities in physical therapy and OT, and then some business cards. I can leave all those.
Any questions?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Mayor, I just want to say I'm in support of this. I had a friend recently that was in need of a rehabilitation center in Cleveland, and of course, there was not one available. So she had to go somewhere else, which took her many miles away from any family or friends. And so I would like to see us get this in Cleveland, so I support it.
I would just
McCaskill?
add that's a big piece of our application, the tyranny of distance and congestion from here to Chattanooga, really, or to Knoxville, really is problematic. We get good support from the local community for referrals, but we get refusal from patients and families because of the distance and the congestion.
Councilman Castor, you had a
Mr.
question?
Lambert, you said, are you aware that Life Care offers rehab, and portion of the services here right now? Well, Life Care does that?
No, not aware of that.
Yeah, they do. They do. Life Care does that. One of our council members that just retired, used him several times on that part. And
Does
I've
it
heard other
cover
people-
everything though?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Because I know my
Rehab.
friend couldn't find a place here in Cleveland, so.
Life Care does do it on that part.
I'm not aware of an inpatient rehab facility in this county. Inpatient rehab is 3 hours of intense therapy, 5 days a week.
Life Care assisted living upstairs. They use it up there quite a bit. Sure, on the bridge that goes across.
Mr. Lambert, I was also asked if a letter or request for a letter has been sent to the county commission of Bradley County as well as the city.
We have been, I didn't add that, but we have been in contact with the Bradley County mayor.
Okay.
But we haven't had any correspondence received back from the county or from the county commission. But we definitely requested it, yes.
What's the community need of number of beds? What do you, you've got some already, I think.
I'm
I
not
think-
sure how many are in that facility because none of our data or the data with Medicare show another facility here. So the need is more than what we're even building for. So ours would be 40, but the need of your community and the growing need for older than 65, as well as just your growth overall. I don't know how many beds. I would have to gather that, but definitely bigger than what we're building for sure.
Okay. All right. I think it's like, Life Care's got 15 or so. I'm not
Yeah,
certain.
that's a very small number.
Yeah. One other thing too, you said you're working with Bradley Medical Center?
Yeah, we've requested support from them for a letter of
You talked to
request.
them?
We've talked to them, but we haven't gotten a response back.
Okay.
Any comments, questions remaining from the council?
What was the address again?
It's, just make sure I get this right. 4100 Stevens Road in Cleveland, 37312, kind of, I think, across the street from First Baptist,
I
a
think-
little bit further.
It's right off Stewart Road. I think Stevens is the new road. Yeah,
It'll be right off Irvine Road.
correct.
Sir, are you, with the new facility, would y'all, since the need you believe is higher than what you build, would you build something that has expansion availability?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, the typical model, if we get approved, and I think will be in our application, is for a 40-bed initial operating, but to be able to expand to 50.
Thank you.
And I think that's Encompass model everywhere we build. You always build it's always costs less to build expansion up front. And we'd use that as storage or office space to begin with.
Mayor, I'd like to have one more time to digest this before we act on this at all. I don't know, I just feel more comfortable getting in the community and asking questions.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Lambert.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, that takes us to our city manager's report, Mr. Fimus.
Mr. Moore?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Public comments, you're right. We do have one person that has requested to speak today. Mr. Martin Moore, if you'll state your name for the record.
My name is Martin Moore.
Thank you for signing in.
My questions have been somewhat resolved, so I'm not going to take up any time here. I enjoyed the chicken show. The
You don't
gentleman,
have an outfit?
I left my outfit out the car because I'm afraid that the officer here might take it into consideration and not take me as serious as I really want to
It's
be.
an orange jumpsuit or something like that?
Well, yeah, I've got one of them too. But I do thank y'all for the chief for listening, the mayor for listening, and for addressing the issues that I have with noise in this town. It's been addressed, and I want to thank everybody, and I'm done. I've done what I came to do, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So that completes, I'm sorry, Mr. Kessler? And Mr. Moore had a noise ordinance question and the distance of a restaurant that serves alcohol from a school and.
I had different
Okay.
fees.
I just kind of curious.
It was resolved. I've got the diagram right here. I was wrong,
Okay.
and everybody else was right.
Appreciate it.
All right, and going back to special presentations and public comments, we heard from Mr. Lambert regarding the Tennessee Health Facilities Commission certificate of need. Councilman Casta, was that an official request to remove that from the consent calendar?
What's that?
There was a resolution authorizing a letter of support on today's consent. Was that a request by you? You said take more time.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little more time with that to ask some questions with the physical, the doctors and stuff in the community. and stuff.
All right.
Good.
Mr. Fivas, I will defer to you if it's better to move that to a future calendar or move that to another portion of the agenda.
It's up to what you guys want to do.
Councilman,
I would-
future calendar?
A future calendar, yeah, bring it back a future calendar.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're having, they probably have to turn their materials into the state. If they're expecting an answer in June,
You said
Usually-
End of this month, I guess it was, or next month?
right, but they have to turn all the materials in. I mean, I've never spoken, I don't know anything about, other than what he just said, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Fivas, you're recognized.
So did we just put that on
Future calendar.
future calendar? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and the city council members. We have a couple announcements. We have the mayor's tree initiative / Arbor Day / Bee City USA event scheduled for April 25th at 1:30 at Arnold Elementary School. This is kind of a multi organizational event. You have the Tree City or the tree board that helps do that. We have our own staff. What will happen is that we will go in and have a number of students that we will educate on the value of trees and bees, and we will go through there and educate them, and then we will take them out and we'll plant trees within Arnold Elementary to be able to do that. And we'll have formal invitations go out to the school board. We'll certainly invite the tree board, and obviously the city council is welcome to attend. It should be an enjoyable, to the point event. On next item 2B is the tree giveaway event, March 29th, 9 to 1. This was at Tinsley Park, as we've communicated previously. Because we're doing construction at Tinsley Park, it was thought that it was better to move the event to the farmers market out on Urbane Road. And that will start at 9 and go to 1. We have a number of free trees that have been donated. Some are to the city, some to the city stormwater, some to the county stormwater, and then the city has some additional trees. So there'll be hopefully a lot of opportunities to get, they're not big trees, they're smaller, but hopefully an opportunity if someone wants to make a memory and plant a tree that you can do that. We have another announcement on April 3rd, and we think we're looking at either 9 or 10. We have a budget retreat scheduled. That got delayed because we had some difficulty getting all the people that needed to be there at this event. You'll have our financial advisors to come in and give us some options for future funding of school projects and city projects, and should be in-depth conversations on those discussion points. I think that's all. Anyone have any questions on any of those announcements? We have probably a little bit longer conversation on the urban growth boundary, so I'm going to put that last and knock off all the smaller things. Deer Park improvements. At Deer Park, as you know, was rehabbed probably 7 years ago or so, and it's starting to have some wear and tear. We want to let the council know that there'll be times and periods that we'll have to close down the restrooms coming up. Is that we plan on putting in new floors within those. They're more, and Brian's here and he can tell you what the process looks like. But basically, the floors have been corroded, and just you have chemicals that have hit them for 30 years that the park has been out there, and new floors would certainly be a benefit. But the one change that we're thinking about making, that we need some input on, is right now the restrooms are multi-tenant, meaning one person can go in and then another person can go in, is becoming much more popular in park facilities to be able to go in and lock the door and use the restroom facility, and then when you leave, you unlock it. A lot of people feel more comfortable with that, not going into public restrooms, but it will be a change, probably not a drastic change, but we're certainly interested in hearing some feedback on that. We have significant damage that occurs in restrooms, and one of those damage items are all the partitions that are in there. So we would just eliminate the partitions, redo the floors, probably redo a lot of the other fixtures. And when someone goes in, they'll be able to lock the door, and then when they're done, they would leave, and then the next person could use that. Brian, do you have any?
Will there be a diminished number of people that can be served at a time?
At one exact time, yes, because you can only, you have 2 bathrooms and 2 people can use that. So, but previously you could have 2 or 3 people in there at a time, but with the flow, a number of people in there, we just wanted to. This is very common. A lot of people feel much more comfortable of being able to lock the door and not have people walk in on them, or when you have baby changing tables, sometimes it's nice to be able to lock the door and do that type of activity.
Is this the same kind of locking mechanism that we get reports about the Greenway, that they're automatically locking at night, or is this a different?
No, that's your electric automatic lock system. This would be a bolt that you would bolt on there, just like when you go to a gas station or whatever.
Councilman Casta?
Joe, would it be possible, there's 2 bathrooms now, male and female, correct? And it's, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 toilets, streams in there. Is there a way, I'm gonna ask you a question, is there a way to subdivide this thing where you can have 4 versus 2? 2 more doors? I'm just asking a question, while you're doing this, is there a way to have a door on the side, on both sides, and 2 on the front to have 4 versus 2 that you could lock on that part? Is it possible? Anything's possible, I'm sure. I'm just asking, because there's a lot of people at Deer Park.
Yeah.
And I know the gym park
don't
has the
remember
same thing, maybe have
how it
3.
looks.
Yeah, it's probably not possible.
No, they're a little small, so they were built to different standards of what bathrooms are built
Okay.
to now. So the partitions are really too small even for what they are.
Okay.
But the single occupancy thing is just kind of liked by families more because they can go in with their young kids and lock the door and take them to the restroom without other people in there. So I don't know that the occupancy, the number of people served is as much of an issue as just the safety and security for having the single occupancy.
I just wanted to ask a question, some way it could be subdivided.
Yeah.
Councilman Goff?
Are they gender specific, and would they, if there's only 2 left, would they be kind of unisex since they're one room?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would just be in unisex family restroom.
And we're probably open to that. If you want to have a male and a female, that's fine. If you want to make them both unisex, we're happy to.
It's just one open room. I don't see why one unisex would be better with one locking mechanism. So would it be kind of the size or the model of Raider Drive or in front of Church of God, where it's just like basically got a concrete box with a sink and a toilet,
Yeah,
easy maintenance?
And the flooring we're looking at is the solid surface flooring, so it's the kind of the poured flooring that goes on top of the concrete, which is what we have at Avery Johnson Park. And it's much more durable and sanitary than what we have now. But yeah, it would be the single fixtures, and then we would look at, we have a changing table grant that we could use to put a changing table in there. Which is something we don't have there right now, so that'd be a benefit.
Can I ask, what's the time frame of redoing the floor to get the project done?
It's
When you
pretty quick
start?
turnaround, so we would like to start pretty soon on that.
You know a time frame on the floor set and stuff, what you have to do, prep it and stuff?
We already have pricing and everything on it, so we would be able to start pretty soon. We just need to check kind of our staffing, but this spring.
This spring? Okay. Will one be done or both can be done at the same time? Keep one open?
What we've done in the past is we've brought out accessible porta potties
Porta-potties.
to be used while we're working on it. I don't think there will be a long period of time where it's actually closed down.
Hey, Brian, why are we not doing automatic locks on them? I'm just worried about homeless folks.
They do have automatic locks. The lock he's talking about is the deadbolt, just that you would use yourself, but we also have an automatic lock system on it that locks at night
Okay.
at dark.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
I think the addition of the changing tables necessitates them having family signage rather than unisex, I think,
I do too.
for my
Yeah.
point of view. Any other comments or questions from the council?
Is this something we need to approve?
Yeah. I don't see this on the agenda, Joe. Do you need to vote for this?
I think it's just awareness. If you felt like you wanted to vote on that, you're more than happy to add the item to the agenda. We wouldn't oppose that, of course.
The total cost on this? Do we know, find out any chance?
We need to check on that. We wanted to check on the demolition cost before we do that, but we're doing it with our staff. So other than the poured flooring, we'll probably be doing most of the work ourselves. It'll be minimal.
Any chance, just for the materials?
I hate to give a number just because I don't have them in front of me and I need to check, but we can get back with you on that.
Okay.
Maybe changing the grant.
Yeah, there's actually it's a universal changing table grant that we were awarded last year that we haven't used yet. So it's a motorized thing and it's a larger piece. We have that option, or we have baby changing table too. We can use both.
Awesome.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I've witnessed mothers changing kids on the picnic tables out there.
Yeah.
It looks awkward, you know?
Yep.
So it's motorized, raised up and down, right?
Correct.
So if somebody is in a wheelchair, it's not too high, they can lower it down.
That's right.
Brian, I think you've got consensus and support from the council, so when you get that estimate, we'll add it to the agenda at that time and cast the vote.
All right. Thank you very
What
much.
were the floors called?
That's solid surfacing. It's that poured flooring.
Yeah, and that we intend to have, because what it does is it has a lip, goes up the wall a little bit. So if there's a water spill or breaking the pipes, it's easy to take care of, and there's just a lot of stuff. So we
Yeah.
intend to, over the next couple of years, do all of our restrooms like that. And this is the second one. Avery Johnson already has that type of flooring.
Yeah, and I can give you a little clarity on the cost. It's not a bid project. It's below our bid threshold, so it's just a simple quote job.
Well, if that's the case, Mayor,
And-
can they proceed forward with it, or you have to still vote on what's under the bid?
It's under the
Just do
bid.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it done.
I think the floors are around $5,000 or $6,000,
If
for
it's under
example,
bid,
so,
if
yeah.
it's
Within your-
consensus of council,
Yeah.
everybody's
It-
good with that, and they move forward. If it's over the bid, y'all just bring it back to us,
Yeah, and
get it started.
what's that?
I said if it's under the bid process, y'all go ahead and start with the process.
weather is,
Yeah.
why we get rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's over the bid, then bring it back to us.
All right.
Yeah. And when you have 30 years of contamination in there, it's just sometimes good to remove it and move on with different.
Yeah.
Fresh paint.
That sounds like a green light, Mr. Turner. Good luck.
Thanks, Mark. Moving on to, and our Civic Center project, or the Cherokee Hotel project. I'll have Brian give us a little bit more detail on what's happening, but you know, I think the piece that's eye-popping is obviously the paint came off the front of the building much better than what we had anticipated. They're making great progress in probably most in the council room, because they obviously started earlier, and we've found a few nuggets of new history and new information that may dictate a little bit of a design change that Brian can walk you through. But I think everything is going extremely well, and we're just very happy. If you want to kind of give highlights of things that you're working on and see.
Sure. Yeah, so with the council building, like he said, it's looking really good. The shell package will be wrapping up this spring, which means that the build-out contractor can move in after that and start doing some of the other things. We should have storefront and windows going in about a week or so, so that's really going to change the way that building looks. On the Cherokee side, we knew there were originally some stairs that went down from the main lobby into the former tenant space where Pinion's Jewelers was, but we hadn't actually seen the layout until some of the demo work they did now. We actually found that there was an sort of a side atrium that came off the park side over there that had the same flooring, the same terrazzo flooring that the lobby had. So we have been able to kind of reconstruct how that atrium was there and lined up with the stairs that took you up into the lobby, which we think might be an asset for the future tenant who would go into that space to have that sort of connection without having to go outside and back in the building. So we are looking at ways to restore that original floor plan now that we know what it was. So the architect's going to look at what the feasibility of that is and how that affects the tenant space. It seems to work really well with them, with what that tenant space will be, and sort of separates off a place where there could be a restroom and everything for that tenant. So it's a positive find. It's something that we think we'll be able to work with and use that.
Is the staircase still there?
It is. The
Wow.
covering of the staircase is gone, but the poured concrete stairs are still there. And actually, over that, in the tenant space, we found a hand-painted Dr. Pepper mural from the 30s. It was the same ad they were using in around 1930, and we've got a piece of that. A lot of it's been painted over, but we do have a piece of it that was never touched. And then there might be a way to incorporate some of that ad into the future tenant space.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Is the terrazzo still down, the black and white?
It is. It's in bad condition. It's not as preserved because there was a concrete slab poured over that. But
Wow.
now we know where that was, and so we can go back with something sensitive to what that material was.
It's a great find. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So what you'll do is it'll open up a better opportunity to be able to place those restrooms for the restaurant / tenant space, but also a side restaurant area if someone wanted to come off the side of that building. And even if the restaurant was closed, you could still have access to that potentially.
That's right.
So the Roy's, with the lack of any better name, looks so good. Will you do that same treatment on a lot of the other building? Or
Yeah.
how will that building look as fresh as that one?
So there's a lot of brickwork still to be done at the Cherokee. The cleaning of that will happen later in the project after some of the new work is done. You may have seen some cleaning in small portions. They were cleaning samples of brick to see what the original color would be so they could color match the mortar for any repairs and things we needed to do. And then when everything is done, they'll go back and clean the whole building. So you'll see a material that looks more like the building next to it after they remove the paint, because that one cleaned up really nicely. There's also some paint to remove on the side where they had built that staircase facing the park.
Right.
And all that's gonna go back to the original brick as well, where that got painted over.
Have we thought about putting a hood vent in the tenant space?
Yeah, that moves to the next item, the RFP. So we've looked at that with the architects. So a grease hood, a type 2 hood, actually cannot terminate where there's gonna be people. So we have an occupiable roof, so we can't come out that roof and then have the seating we would have on that balcony because of that. You also can't terminate it over a sidewalk or underneath an operable window. So being right there on the sidewalk with the occupiable roof and all the windows above it that are double hung windows that can open, then there's not really a good place. The only option would be to run it all the way up, like build a chase that runs all the way, the 7 stories up the back wall and terminates over the roof. But I think we would have conflict with our historic tax credits with that, because it would be such a visible thing on the side of the building that we don't have approval
In all
for.
reality, that will save us money, but it limits our potential tenants.
It does, but there are tenant business models that can prepare food without it. We can still have heating food, we just can't have grease-laden vapors that are produced.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, from my background in food side of it. Convection ovens can be put in without being hooded, so if you're
Correct.
baking stuff or doing.
They have a
those type of
hood, it
things,
just removes the heat out, it doesn't bring grease with it,
Yeah.
so we can have that kind of.
So that can be added, you know,
Correct.
deli sandwiches or something like that, you could have a bakery or whatever.
Yes.
In that part, so.
Pizza ovens?
Pizza ovens, I believe, yeah, they would still be
Pizza
okay.
ovens Also, so
Yeah.
there's options and not have a deep fry,
Yeah.
you know, or a grill, so.
It'll save us money too.
They are a maintenance issue as well,
They
yeah.
are, they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Maintain them, clean them, get them inspected and stuff,
Yeah.
it's a huge cost.
As long as we can make a grilled cheese, I'm okay. That's all I ask.
Soup and a sandwich would be great.
Yep,
Some type of deli or something.
Yeah.
51st Deli up in Nashville, I visited it, I wish somebody would go up there and see that, to see the concept of that. They do a really good job, right there at Vanderbilt,
yeah.
and there's 2 locations, and it is absolutely delicious on that part, how they go about doing it, so, but anyway.
Are there any other questions about the RFP?
Brian, I
Yeah.
had a question on the council building.
Yeah.
It looks good, well, it was cleaned off, but I did notice there was some variation in the color of the brick. Is there anything to be done about that? Or-
So most of that variation is actually the original, so that was something that happened over time. Most of that's on the bottom, and there is an awning that's gonna go across that separates the top from the bottom, so I think it's gonna be in the shadow, and that's gonna help with some of that.
It doesn't look bad, I just.
Right,
wondered if there's
right.
some way it could be covered up or.
No, I do think, I know what you're talking about, I do think it will look better once that awning is in, and that will help sort of break those 2 up a little bit.
It looks really good right now.
Yeah, as far as the corner space for the restaurant, can that, in my perspective, can that leave it as a shell till we get close to getting finished this summer, not to try to get a tenant in too quick? I
So-
mean, because that way we can see what it is, and somebody can see what it is versus just, you know, the next couple months, putting somebody in there and.
Yeah,
next year.
well, we certainly can work with any tenant on whatever timeline they're looking for. And that portion of the project is also tax credit eligible. So we are looking at incorporating that into our current tax credit application, but we do have some time on that, yes.
Okay, will we buy, the equipment inside, or what, will we do that? Will the person who's coming in do that, Joe? Will that, I mean, just,
Alan's here, I just hate to lose
to
him.
me, an open shell, just somebody to see and have people come in and bid after we get close to the summit being finished, to have a better perspective of what, maybe what we want, say, rushing inside.
Well, I think we want to leave all of our options open as much as possible. I think that, I think there's a couple of questions, I think there's multiple questions in there. As far as, and, you know, what your question was, you know, can we delay them opening or doing it? Yes. But usually if you have a restaurant, you'll usually need to have probably 10 months to a year to make sure there's a build out, get your financing, do all that stuff. So we want to make sure that we get enough time to get the right vendor to come in. So we're open and we're looking at that time as far as how to process that.
Well, I'm saying that because there's things to build out, different things. If they build it out, then there's
Yep.
taking off rent. There are different ways you can work this thing. I don't want to get too far ahead of it.
Well, what Brian was saying, and one of the things in the RFP that we're contemplating and trying to have a conversation on it, is some of the build out, we may want to do some of that, meaning like finishing the floors, make sure the walls are correct, and do some of that. Because every dollar, that we spend in there, we get 20% back. So that would be part of the project. So there's a question is that we're trying to find, instead of it just having a raw space that's built out, we're trying to determine what that threshold is. The best case scenario is that you have a private business that comes in and does it all within the tax credit historical standpoint, and they do that. Then that increased costs and that limits the opportunities for the private businesses. So, but we think doing the rudimentary floors, ceilings, getting something, but then what the RFP it contemplates is that then there's a negotiation on what the upfit looks like and how that's all going to go. Do you have any?
Yeah, no, there's some efficiency in incorporating some of the architectural work into the current project. And what we definitely don't want to do is have a tenant come in and jeopardize the tax credits for the project. Sure. So if we have them brought on early enough that they can inform our decisions for what they need, and then we can build that portion out. But as far as the fixtures, furnishings, and all that, we don't have any plans to do that for the tenant. That would be something.
Can you work with the architect now to do some of the fixtures and drains, closets for lots and stuff? And
Right.
Pretty well seen. And
Yeah,
do the plumbing of that and kind of put an area where they can wall it if they need to use that as an area to work around.
Yeah, so that-
still leave it as a.
Yeah, that's the plan right now, is to go ahead and acquire a tenant, have somebody on the, who's making plans. Then we know what type of business is going in there. And while we're already out there doing those things, we can incorporate those sort of necessary items, anything that's going to go under the concrete slab, the bathrooms.
How's the plumbing?
Mop sink.
How is the plumbing? Speaking of bathrooms, plumbing okay? Is it,
It's all new plumbing that's going in.
Okay.
So the biggest.
so this is gonna be a brand new.
That's right. Yeah, the plumbing issues that we've been working through is just to figure out where we need to run it outside the building. But no, it's all.
And how many square feet?
For the tenant space itself,
Yeah.
I think it's 1,600 square feet. It's, I think, somewhere around in there.
We have any idea as far as price per foot?
It's really going to be dependent on the tenant. We already have a certain level built into what we already have now. So we had to show that we were going to put a ceiling and that we were going to put a wall finish in there. So that's already built into what we have. It would be really just like the bathroom fixtures and those kinds of things. And then if we are going to seek approval on any of the finishes, like the floor finishes, changing those out depending on what the tenant is looking for. So there's a certain level of that they required us to bring the space to. We couldn't leave it as a shell for a tax credit project.
Okay, well, I encourage you to come to Dwayne, some of us that, full in the real estate world, when you wanna get it rented out.
Yeah.
I like being part of it too, my background in food service too, so
There you
I
go.
do have a good background. Is the restroom still gonna be accessible from outside for people at the park to use and the restaurant also?
It could be. It's the way that the new layout would work, where we've talked about where we can actually access the doors on the side. It's really just it becomes an issue how you lock the doors. So we have that option to open or close as needed, and depending on what we decide we want to do with that side entry.
But it hasn't been drawn yet.
No, it hasn't been drawn yet.
But it's Johnson Park people there with the restaurant, if it's closed on Sunday, they'll still have access to the restaurant.
Correct.
Councilman Goff?
If that's what the council chooses.
Right. That option is built in, and it'll have the the lock system that's programmable, so we can even change our mind after we've done it.
I think we need public bathrooms in town somewhere that's accessible, if we have events down Emmons Street or whatever, it's other places for people to use instead of pulling porta potties out.
Yep.
Did you say the tax credit requires us to finish the walls?
Yes.
Okay. Seems to me we'd try to find a tenant as soon as possible versus waiting, just due to those needs, because if we finish the walls out and we find a tenant that needs to have electrical in other places, and it just becomes a nightmare having to rip all that stuff back out.
That's right. That's why we wanted to bring them on now while
What
we're
is
still
our
open.
timeline for this? What do we have to meet the tax credits? What's
To meet the tax credits. So the way that works is we just don't get the tax credits until the project is complete.
Right.
So it's not really the timeline for that as much as it is our contract for the construction with
What's our
Tricon.
contract for construction?
It was an 18-month contract. It should be sometime in maybe second quarter next year is when we're actually complete.
So we got up through this summer or
Mhm.
to fall, you're comfortable doing something this fall, maybe looking at something at that point?
Yeah, so if, depending on the responses we get for the RFP and who is interested, we have plenty of time to get everything that we need. The way they're phasing the project is they're starting on the top and working their way down.
Okay.
So it's one of the last areas to get finished in the space, so but we do, obviously bring them on now
So we
would
have
be
time.
easier.
Yeah.
We have time to have candidates to
Mhm.
apply for it. And
Right.
Don't do anything today on that part.
They're gonna wanna know what rent is, we're gonna establish that number.
Well, if we finish the Sunday with the shell, it's gonna worth more. If we do it right now, Dan, it's not gonna be worth much at all. Somebody's gonna say, I can't see that's right, that's the reason I wanna push it out a little
Yeah.
bit further, so they can see what they're involved with, and that would,
I just like the idea of getting the word out so that we can get
Yeah.
interested parties,
There you
Yes.
go.
multiple, and then
That's
we can
fine.
choose
I-
the
I- I
best.
have no problem with
Well,
that.
I agree we need some pricing, but I think that can be a range of pricing depending on the quality tenant that we're gonna have
That's right.
show up.
yeah. And they would have a preferred, I guess, for the city on that part, Joe. Would they be preferred providers for if we have council meetings or something that this person would be a preferred provider, or would that be part of it, or how would that work?
It just depends on what the business models are for all of them. I mean, in our perfect world, we would want to have a restaurant area that could also provide lunch for the civic group meeting up there and have a box, mostly box lunches, probably not hot lunches,
Slaw dogs.
slaw dogs.
We put a barbecue out in the back there in the parking lot, it smell like barbecue.
Is that grease vapor barbecue?
Yeah, I mean, so, but we know that we'll need to have some type of food options. If you get a really cool model, I mean, you could get a cool bakery, ice cream, deli thing, and they just don't want to do that, they want to have more quality than do quantity, then we would probably want to have who's going to be successful for us. And if we needed to have an outside caterer to do other events, then we have to keep flexibility for what's going to come at us.
I don't see that facility, that space being used except for lunch, breakfast and lunch. You can maybe go to 3 o'clock. I don't know how many afternoon after the city hall closes downtown. That'd be up to the tenant, but I think your busiest time would be lunch.
Yeah.
And maybe breakfast on that part. I don't know about dinner, people going down there for dinner and sitting down.
Yeah, well, we think
Maybe
there's,
leave,
well, we
sit
think
down.
there's ice cream models that
Just get in
could
there.
work as well. That would bring in a later crew.
Breakfast and lunch.
Deli boys.
Deli boys.
So,
Corky.
I think that this is the start of a good conversation. I think the timing question is really important, and we think that getting the word out is the most important aspect, and that's having a meeting like this, is trying to find the right entrepreneurs that is a good fit, and then being able to go and see if the right entrepreneurs that we can meet on a fiscal standpoint, what are we willing to do? and then giving them enough time that they can, plan for their business, do their business model, do their upfit, and then get in the building. So we think that now is the right time to really start talking to people. Not that they're going to open or do anything, but we just need to get the word out.
That's what you're asking. To get the word out.
Yeah, I think we need to get the word out. Just start getting some traction, let everybody know, so they start asking questions and want to be involved. We can tell them, hey, it's a year out, but.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is with the RFP. We have to say, here's what the parameters are, because if you don't show people what the kind of the parameters are, it's hard to answer any questions for them.
You give them the layout footing, they'll take it to an architect or somebody, and they'll do a layout, they'll do a drawing and stuff, and maybe come back and submit, and what type of drawing they have, make sure it kind of conforms to what the summit is too, somewhat, I would think, and have multiple ones to come back and say, this is what my view is, and pick from there.
Any final comments?
That's all I got.
You gonna stick around, Brian?
Yeah, I'll be here. Thanks.
Yeah. I am transitioning back to the urban growth boundary discussion. Want to give everyone a thorough update on where we are so we've gone through the process. There was the committee appointed by Mayor Davis. The county put forward a map. The city of Charleston put forward a map. The city of Cleveland put forward a map. And there was some give and take. There were some folks that wanted to have some tweaks and some alterations, and I think everything that was requested was accomplished. And then there was a question that one thing that was important was to limit the ability of the city to do annexation by referendum outside of the city growth boundary. And we've had conversations, and we're certainly, if we got approval of that, that's something that we would certainly, from a staff level, be comfortable with. The committee adopted the map unanimously, and I'm going to go through the map specifically here and tell you kind of the spots and some of the conversations with that, and you have that also in front of you. It was unanimously adopted. All the Charleston members, all the city council members, all the county commission members, everyone was unanimously supportive of the map. There was the annexation agreement that also included some parameters for how, in what circumstances does the city take over roads when we do annexation. That's been a question that some of the county commissioners have asked for a while. And sometimes, we do the best that we can, and sometimes they disagree with our thought process on that. But what this agreement would do, that you would have, is it would set up kind of a process on if you do an annexation, when would we take that county road into the city? For instance, if you have the city on both sides of a county road, it makes sense that that becomes a city road. If we have an annexation that goes out a road, and it's kind of one of our non-contiguous ones, we've been trying to connect those into the city, so we've already been doing that from a large standpoint. And so that's included in this agreement. That was recommended by the Urban Growth Committee as well. I think the vote was 9-1. Is that the right numbers? And so that was positive. So what happens now in the process is that the county and the city in Charleston all have to approve the recommended map. So today, we have on our agenda for the council to consider two things. One is the urban growth boundary new map, and we're going to go through it thoroughly in a moment. And two is to look at this annexation agreement, and we'll walk through that more intimately in a few moments as well. Then we would go and give that information to the county. They are slated, and I believe it's on their agenda, to consider at their next meeting, which is April 7th. And then the city of Charleston has their meeting the next day on April 8th, and then they will adopt or consider them at that time. At that point, if it's all approved, it would be sent to the state. The state goes through it and they do their review, and then they would notify us when it's officially approved from the state. So that's been the timeline and the process laid out. The mayor has been intimately involved with a lot of the conversations. Jonathan was on the committee. Vice Mayor Webb was on the committee as well. It wasn't bumpy, but it was a thorough process.
I thought it was bumpy. It's pretty bumpy at times.
We're gonna take the roads over, so.
It's like when the
solve
pilot
potholes,
says, we're
okay?
gonna have a few bumps.
We're gonna take the roads over, we'll fix the potholes so it won't be bumpy as you ride down there.
So with that, and we'll come back to finishing up the process in a moment, I do want to go through kind of the map, and that there were any requests that came to us to take out a parcel. The committee, the Urban Growth Boundary Committee, agreed and took it out. So
100%.
so I don't believe that there was any open issues. So
No.
we don't know of anyone that is in the urban growth boundary that they shouldn't be.
Vice Mayor?
And Joe, you may be gonna mention this, but there was another party that was involved, and that was Cleveland Utilities.
Yeah.
And we did not look at areas where it would be difficult to serve sewer at some point in the future. So that has also been taken into consideration in this final map.
Yes. Yeah. Within this map encompasses the Cleveland Utilities gave us a base map. Hey, this is what we can possibly serve over the next 20 years. And from there, the county came back and had some concerns with up around just past the country club and some of that area. So we took out a
Davis
large.
Road.
What's that?
Davis Road,
Davis Road.
ironically.
And so we took some of that out, and we made a number of concessions as far as the area. So the area is actually much smaller than the Cleveland utility boundaries, but all of it can be served with Cleveland Utilities.
And that's the key.
So one thing that we want to make sure that we emphasize to the highest level, and these probably should have been the first things that came out of my mouth, is this is the urban growth boundary. This has nothing to do with annexation. This is that you still have to, any property owner still has to request, just because you're inside the urban growth boundary doesn't mean you ever have to do anything. Everything's still on request for those members. So, well, the question is, well, what happens if this doesn't occur? Is we believe from a staff level that we could have a real financial low point if we don't have the opportunity to get this urban growth boundary amended. That we have some commercial developments out in the exit 20 area. that has to be expanded, or the county and the city could lose tens of millions of dollars of development that's coming in. Same thing with development up on Lauderdale Road, is if there are not, we're not able to facilitate this, is that there could be a definite negative impact to financial projects that are coming our way. Probably even more importantly is that we happen to be in an area that is blessed with a lot of growth. There's a lot of areas that would like having people move in. But we have very, very huge cost of living. I think this reappraisal notices will be sent out here in the next few weeks, and I haven't seen any and don't know a lot, is you're going to see that property values and home values are going to be very high. There is going to be sticker shock. If we stop building and don't have the ability to grow and have more product out there, your home prices are going to be high enough that people can't afford to come here and live. You know, we already have public servants, police and fire officers, that they can't find affordable housing within the city. So having the ability to have more options to build houses is not because we want to, it's a necessity that we have, you know, SK Foods, which is going to bring in 800 or 900 more employees. We don't even have those employees that live here. So you need to have houses for them. There are a number of other opportunities for houses. You know, you have this new hospital, say, well, that'd be another 200 employees coming to our area. Is that we, both the county and the city, have an obligation to try to keep housing prices somewhat affordable for residents and make sure that you have the right housing stock available. Right now, and Robert will be here and he'll tell you that in our current growth area, 50% of our current growth area is already built out. And that doesn't, so if you have so, you know, we've had the comments, well, you know, they've only annexed 20%, 21% of what the current growth boundary is. But 21 plus 50% is already built out, so 70% of it is already either that we annexed to for additional growth, or it was already built out over the last 30 or 40 years. So then you have that 30% that's left, and if you take out all the ridges and all the low areas and areas that aren't developed, and you take out Creek Ridge, which is not being developed right now, which is a huge part of our area. If you take out some other undevelopable areas, we think that we only have about 10 to 15% of our area right now that can actually go and find and build out. That's why we have this. That's why this is so important, is to be able to articulate that our housing costs, our ability to live here, keeping our taxes low by having growth and development. Now, the county, when we go and annex a property, you know, we have to supply fire services and police services and roads and all of those things. The county gets the exact same amount of money that the city gets on any development. They get they get their portion of their taxes, and they have some services that they may provide, the jail and some other ones. Is we take the brunt of most of those services. So for when we annex, it's a benefit to the county's budget and keeping their taxes low and keeping their services going as well. So with that being said, this isn't a question of, well, it'd be nice if it, this is important that, and this was discussed during the committee, Urban Growth Boundary Committee, is this, we have to do this for what's in the best interest of the Bradley County, Cleveland, and Charleston areas, so that we can continue to serve our residents. Any questions on any of that before I get right to the map and show you?
And I think, Joe, it's not inappropriate to put a little bit of a finer point on it, that if we don't come to an agreement locally, that this whole process gets sent to Nashville for an administrative law judge who is not from our community to make these decisions for us and impose upon us a map or changes that we might not all be in agreement with, either collectively or individually. So the fact that we've been able to gather the 3 cities or the 2 cities in the county, come to an agreement of reasonable certainty, is incredibly important, because if we do not do this, I'm looking at Robert, by April 17th, then it goes to Nashville for us to be told what to do, which greatly concerns me.
Will that map that goes, if that happens, be the one that we're talking about right now, living through, so all parties?
It would likely be that. I mean, and does it make sense when you get into administrative law process? It's not like you go up for a meeting, is that you have to hire your attorneys, the county's gonna have to hire their attorneys, we're gonna have attorneys, we're gonna spend a bunch of money on litigating that and trying to get, for the good and the bad and the ugly of that. It's much better to take care of things locally and to be reasonable and come up with reasonable accommodations, which we got a unanimous vote on the Urban Growth Boundary Committee.
That'll carry some weight.
6.0.
Yes. And like I said, and I blazed over it, there are developments right now, and I'll get heads nodded over here from Jonathan and Robert, that this has to happen, or we could lose tens of millions of dollars in revenue for future development. It just has to happen.
Not us, but the county too.
Both. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just not us. It's
And
county.
probably 1,000 jobs.
Councilman Goff has a question?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks to the committee and everybody for working so hard on this, and I just kind of have a side question. The areas that, regarding annexation, the areas that border the future growth map, if they're on the red line and someone on the other side voluntarily comes to the city and wants to be annexed, is that just a no? Can't happen?
If it's contiguous to the border?
If the
Three spots that kind of border the future growth line.
It's an open question. It's an open question. There is a methodology that we could bring it into the city, but it's not. So what I'm saying is, can we get it in the city? Yes. Is it a easy, process that can be done very quickly? No, but it's possible, but it's not an easy process.
Thank you.
Any more questions on that?
Any more questions from the council? Thank you, Mr. Fivas.
So I'm gonna go through the map and then go through the thing, and then that will tee us up for the meeting. So you have the urban growth boundary map here, is what you're looking at. Well, do you have the other one that actually has the current growth boundary on there? That's the one you're seeing. So if you imagine this area, here's the dark blue are the city lines, but then there's light blue here. I think it might be in your maps that you have. Is so about half of this area outside of it's already in our growth boundary, and I'll have that map for you at 3 o'clock. So what we're really adding is from this point, which is out by the jet port, is that we follow the existing line. So we're not making any substantive changes all the way down. Chris, hold up. Other direction. Down to here, and as you see, all of this is already built out. So we're not changing there. This goes out a little bit further right there, and that's really our argument, is that there is no growth area that's left because it's already built out. When you come over here, it expands out. This little piece of property was not in the urban growth boundary, right here. And then up here is that, this is the part that's important, is to have growth towards the north, is that this would all be new areas. Our blue areas are really right about I-75. So this is a new growth area here around exit 20. Up by Eureka Road, it would be there. And it captures just along the I-75 corridor up to about where Cleveland Utilities is, and covers some area of the Lauderdale. Charleston, this is what Charleston sent us. So we haven't made any additions to there. The changes in there was the county schools had us other direction. The county schools had us take out some properties here and over there. We accommodated all of the county schools' requests. The Summerfield Johnston properties did not want to be in, so we accommodated that request. And I think everyone else has been taken care of. So again, in looking at the map, if you I'm sorry. In looking at the map, it just, right now where our current boundaries are, you know, you have Creek Ridge up here, that is the large areas here, and we have very little growth there, is that you're down to about 10 to 15% of area that could potentially be developed. That's why this is important to have a new 20-year plan, which this constitutes our growth. Now, Wacker, as they've come in and they've, you know, with in full build out, they always wanted to be similar to their facility in Germany. And with that, and let's say you added some more employees up there, you know, you have some very large developments up in these areas that are industrial, that are looking right now, is where do those employees live? And what we're trying to do is trying to give housing options to those employees. So that's the lay of the land. You have a little booklet that goes through all those little pieces. Now, I'll go and talk about the agreement. You do have the agreement in front of, yes.
If someone in say a year, 2 years, and they did not want to be in the grove, so someone comes in, offers them a lot of money, and they decide that they want to be in, what is the process to get them in?
We would have to go back through the urban growth boundary amendment process.
It is amendable.
It is
amendable.
It is amendable.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Councilman Goff?
On the south side, where it's primarily already built out, under the new agreements that we have, are we still able to do annexation by referendum? And is the plan to suggest that in the future?
On the south side, yeah.
Yeah, within the growth boundary, I mean, it looks like we already are pretty
Yeah.
built out on the opposite side of AP 40 on the southeast area.
Just restate your question. I want to make sure I
Well, my
understand.
question is, it's already built out, so under these new agreements, can we still annex these areas that are already built out, annexation by referendum? And is our plan to do that?
There's no plan at all to do any annexations against or proposed. If they came in and they wanted to do that, we would certainly do that.
Okay,
But
so
we
we're just
don't have
allowed to
any.
do it, but we have no plan to try and do it.
That's the agreement that we're, to get the county support.
Thanks.
So this agreement, and you have an amended version that we can talk about. This is the agreement, and it's been amended since when the other committee adopted it, and that's because of comments and suggestions that we've had from our friends at the county. Basically, the original intent was that you have no annexation by referendum outside of the new boundary.
You can go outside the blue.
You can do it, you can do annexation by referendum within the boundaries, but not outside of it. Then there was questions that were raised with the city roads on section 5 of this agreement, is that if the city uses non-contiguous annexation, which means it's not connected to the city, then we would annex a road back into the city, so it would be, everything would be contiguous. And I think that's good public policy, that we don't have islands out there, is that there's some road that comes in that we're responsible for. When the city does contiguous annexation, meaning it's the areas that touch the city already, and the city and the county is on both sides of a road, then we'll take that, and that makes a lot of sense to most people. When the city uses contiguous annexation and creates a new residential entrance on a county-maintained road, and the annexed road segment is contiguous to the city over 1,000 linear feet, then the city shall annex the city and maintain the county road if the road meets city standards to accept the new streets in the city. What that means is, if you have a new neighborhood that's out in the county and it exits on a county road, and that area that you're bringing in the city is over 1,000 linear feet, we would automatically take that section of county road and make it city road. Except there was a provision that, let's say it's in really bad shape. As there's a provision that what would probably happen is, if it doesn't meet our city standards, is that we would talk to the county road commissioner about, well, how can we work together to get this road up to a certain standard, and maybe we partner on how do we bring that, and then we can bring it into the city after there's, we shouldn't have to take over roads that have been not taken care of for 50 years, and then all of a sudden the city taxpayers have to pay for that. As I think that's a negotiation that we should do. Two requests from the county during this process. They requested that we annex over by North Lee. You annex the remainder of Tasso Road that basically goes about 2,000 linear feet up to the new neighborhood that's being built on top of that hill. It's in front of their fire station. And we would take that over. On one side of the street is Hardwick Farms, and so that was a very direct request from, and several conversations at the urban growth boundary discussion. So we're agreeing to take over that section in this agreement. Minnis Road has a small section where the city touches Minnis Road, and we've agreed to take over those small sections out on Minnis Road. Happy to answer any questions on that. Moving on, and this is where we need to put our heads together, is I have a copy of this and have a copy without this section, so we can, the issue that came up, and it was, in the front page of the paper last week, is the fire tax on the urban growth boundary. So that started more discussions with the county on the fire tax issue. And they believe that this is probably a pretty serious issue. And they would also say it's really not an urban growth boundary issue. You know, I think it's one, you have an agreement that's going back and forth, and they see an opportunity to bring up an issue, which is fair. It's you know. So listening to their concerns, the question has been, and there's been, is that the city and the county will form a 6-person fire tax committee to determine the best methodology for the hold the county harmless as defined for a period of loss. It just goes on that basically we meet, there's 3 representatives from the city, 3 representatives from the county, and see if there's a better way to do that. You know, is there questions of, you know, time to time we get questions of having service agreements and stuff like that, and that's where that lot of that, those questions could be hashed out within this thing. But it says between the time of the signing of this document and until this committee brings back a recommendation, if we annex an area between the old urban growth boundary and the new urban growth boundary, meaning the areas that are not in the growth boundary right now, is that we would pay the county for their loss in fire tax from that property. Now you're talking not a whole bunch of money. We're talking about $5,000 a year in their loss of fire tax. One issue, and that for the fire tax, and we actually looked at the fire tax law this morning, is that they actually, it's very difficult for them to use general fund property taxes to put into their fire tax funds. They have to go through a whole process to be able to do that. So it's not as easy as saying, well, it's $5,000. They don't have, the way the state law is set up, it's very constricting in how you do that. I'm not making the argument for the county, I'm just articulating what has been described to me. So what we would do is for that 1 year, we would, for that piece of property, we would pay the county whatever their loss is in that fire tax, until there's an agreement on the fire tax, but also the service agreement type issues, if there's any agreement on that. This all happened fairly quickly, and I'd be interested to hear any comments, thoughts, or discussions on the issue.
Yeah, but we're on the timetable. Joe, what is the timetable for the agreement to be approved?
April 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, the county will hear it on the 7th.
Well, I mean, for the state.
I don't know how long it will take. Hopefully it's under 60 days, but.
Okay, but do we have a timetable to have an agreement between the 3 parties and to the state? Are we on a timetable? You're not, I'm not.
Yeah. Just
We have
restate.
a deadline.
We have a deadline
That's what I'm asking.
for the urban growth boundary. This has nothing to do with the urban growth boundary.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
The county is saying if you agree to these interlocal
Yeah.
agreements, we will agree to the map.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's the
but
outline.
it's all tied together.
That's the outline
Yeah.
and fire thing.
They have tied it together
Yeah, they've tied it together so that,
with annexation by referendum, acceptance of the roads,
yeah.
now fire tax. So it's the
Yeah.
3rd request
Yeah.
for us to gather and gain support for them to vote for the map.
Yeah, I know.
Just to clarify the fire tax.
Yes.
We're only paying for up to one year of their loss, and then we're done, right?
That's what this agreement says, yes.
We've agreed in this agreement for 1 year.
When you after that goes away.
And after that, it goes away.
And there are some public policy,
Agreement.
Yeah.
and, you know, if, you know, we're in a miss, we understand if you have like something that's taken off the table in a 1 year, this gives them a year to figure out their budgets and so that they're held harmless for a year. And then over that year, they have to figure out if it's impactful or not.
That's reasonable.
Thanks for clarifying
It's
that,
unreasonably reasonable.
'cause I thought it was ongoing.
No.
Okay. He couldn't.
Unless the new agreement states differently.
Joe, is this something they?
This is
Oh,
just
oh,
a
hold on one second.
stopgap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we need to get on.
Yeah, well, this would allow, what the purpose of this is, the map would go into effect. We would have the map going into effect doesn't have to wait for there to have an agreement on fire tax. If, Marcia.
Councilwoman
I'm just
McKenzie,
gonna ask you, this proposal, is this something we're proposing to them, or is this something that's been brought to us?
they've agreed to everything except for today's addition of the fire tax.
That's
We've-
what I'm asking about.
We've had
fire.
verbal discussions. This came from them to us.
Okay.
But it's not in this contract.
It is now. So today's motion at 3 o'clock is to accept this agreement with the 1 year agreement for the fire tax and the committee to discuss it. It's gotta come out of this council to get to them in this new form.
And you saying it's about $5,000 or so, Joe? Something like that?
that's what was conveyed to me. Because, I mean, the prices, and that's with all, because you have raw land that most of it's probably ag land that has a smaller thing in there. So you just have a smaller percentage of that very small number anyway. So it's,
Mayor, I'm going $21.
outside of that, I did want to, I'm moving on to a different item unless people have more comments or thoughts on that.
I don't see any more.
On to a more exciting note, the city is preparing for a city cleanup day, where city staff will be able to go up and, whether it's cleaning up on roads, whether we're at Fletcher Park, and Brian's working on some wildflower options out there, is that we're planning on having a day to have fellowship and get some work done and work on that, and we'll give you more details later. I think that's exciting. We'll certainly include the council in that. We also have our initial downtown retail committee met last week with Main Street and the Chamber and a number of other folks were there, specifically working on our retail in the downtown, that how to get more retail in downtown, how to market for that. We do have a couple larger spaces. Stampers is out and they're gonna be working on those issues. And it was a good discussion. It was a conversation for about 2 hours on the status of our downtown retail and how to improve that. So we'll certainly let people know when those meetings are happening in the future. I do have any questions on projects or anything along those lines?
Any questions from the council? Seeing none?
Budget, any questions on the budget? Any things you want us to look at as we are working towards our proposal? If not, you know where to find me and, you
Yeah,
know,
y'all know you're working on it, but we've talked about it part of the fourth district. I know that's top of your list, so I appreciate that.
Sounds like we're doing a park in the 4th district. No, we do have, we're,
District
no, we are, in all honesty,
4-4.
you know, some of the comments like that, we're trying to figure out how to get that started. We've heard, you know, the other projects, Mouse Creek, stuff like that. We're trying to get those funded in the budget coming up, and we'll communicate more directly on those issues.
Councilman Goff?
I do have a question going back to, I guess it goes back to Deer Park, but just in general.
Yeah.
We have the cameras along the greenways, which I think is a very important safety mechanism for our citizens. Do we have cameras in the park areas, and more importantly, you know, these bathroom areas that, you know, someone can go in and lock the door? Are they pointed in a direction for safety in that capacity?
We have cameras at most of our parks. Chris, do you want to answer that?
We have several cameras.
Oh, come this way, so we can hear you.
Welcome, Mr. Miller.
We have cameras at most of the parks. Deer Park has 4. Some of which are pointed towards the bathroom, but we're planning on putting more around the building itself in the parking lot. Civitan has several cameras, and so does, of course, Greenway Park, and I know I'm missing at least 1 or 2. Yeah, Mosby. Mosby's completely covered now.
Avery?
Avery does not have cameras yet. I've got it laid out to how I want to put them there, but we've just got to get them put in. So Avery's one, and then Blythe Oldfield, which I know they've had some issues there at those bathrooms, that we're going to get some cameras put in at those.
Well, we appreciate all your work putting those in, because I have 2 daughters, something I think about a lot, especially public and them using the greenways, and so it's important for our citizens, and if we can, kind of have cameras pointing towards bathrooms, and when we redo it where they can be locked inside, I just feel like it's a good option to have just for safety.
You know, Councilman Johnson, Chris was kind enough to put command, I believe, is that it? Where I've got access to every camera. I highly recommend tossing your phone to him during the break or something.
You know,
I'll look at it all the time.
Thank you.
I'm impressed with the quality that it transmits. You know,
Yeah, they do really well.
you can recognize people. It's not a blurred, you know, if you've got a bad guy, you know, you can recognize him and the police department can find it, so.
And I want to commend the actual look of the cameras. If you park it in Gondolier and you're almost level with the greenway at that height of the parking lot, seeing the way those cameras fit on the pole, and it's very compressed, and it's
Well, we
not-
tried to make it as
Yeah, it's
aesthetic
very
as you
sleek.
possibly
Yeah,
can for a
it-
security
Kind
camera.
of go away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's remarkable that you've done that in-house and saved us so much money,
Yeah.
but yet they look so good
Thank you.
and operate so well, as Councilman May has said.
And I don't believe we've had any vandalized yet.
No, none of them have been vandalized.
I'm not sure how you'd reach it. I couldn't reach it.
You'd have to pretty much
You'd
knock
be
the pole
surprised.
down,
You'd
and
be
then
surprised.
it'd be hard to get them off of it, even if you did
Tom would have
knock
to
it
pick
down.
me up to reach it.
We can get there, man.
Okay.
You can stand on my shoulders,
But-
wave in the camera.
But as we've talked about before, Chris can tell you a number of examples where we've been able to send the police in a active crime scenes and stuff like that.
Well, I know the police department, they've got their aware center, and they're doing that with their detectives and officers and stuff like that. And
So, cool, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
I was going to mention this when Brian was up there. We do have some change orders for the Cherokee Hotel project. I have not seen them. Brian just made me aware that the way that works is the builder will submit a change order, and then our architects will go through and try to either justify it or not justify it, and they're kind of in that process that the architects are talking to there. But we suspect that there's some issues. We have an issue with
The sewer that was originally planned, there was an issue of getting access to that, so we've had to make some modifications, and just other dogs and cats kind of building type stuff. And when we get those, we'll make sure the council be able to, we'll see those before we make any changes in those funds. Any thoughts on that, Brian?
I can't imagine a project of that magnitude and there not being some change orders.
We knew that, there'd be some change orders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Favis. I think we need to go right into the review of 3 o'clock.
Oh, man, I forgot
Since
about
it's
that.
almost, since it's almost 3 o'clock.
So we're gonna have, we didn't think we could have the blue chicken as well as Sammy the Slaw Dog at the same meeting, so we spaced those out. So we're gonna have Sammy the Slaw Dog for the Hot Slaw Festival, gonna be here at 3 o'clock.
Keep America Beautiful, are we gonna do that at 1?
Oh, we're gonna do it here in a minute.
Okay. I see Alan. I did wanna not have him,
Well, let's just do it right now.
okay.
So,
Is Seth here with the awards? You got
so
him?
Alan, why don't you come on up? Come on up.
Alan Mincy, ladies and gentlemen.
And Miss Marcia, both of you.
For that purpose.
So last week, Alan, who is the CEO or the director of the Keep America Beautiful, gave the city 2
If you count
awards.
Cleveland Utilities, 3.
And so we want to do those and take those pictures again, and you can do the actual, give me the award, and I have the other one sitting right here.
I dressed appropriately for this with my tennis shoes and everything. I'm sorry. Last year, we gave the award, I think I changed it over to the White Glove Award. And when I think of White Glove Award, I think of, look at this dust, But then you take the white glove after it's been cleaned up and looks beautiful, looks pretty. And that's what you did to Stewart Park, the inclusive playground. And that was a combination of the city and I believe the Civitan Club. So we gave the award last year, but we didn't have the plaques ready. So we gave them out at our recent luncheon, which was last Friday. And Ken was there to accept the award for the city. And
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I didn't realize we were going to do it again here, but this is the award to the City of Cleveland, Parks and Recreation, for the inclusive playground at Stewart Park. So that was from last year, 2024.
And Brian Turner's here. He gets much of the credit for the design and the construction of that.
Well, he may get the credit for this too, because this year, I guess one of the biggest changes that I noticed, and you'll have to excuse me, I worked at United Way for 18 years right there at Johnston Park, and I know what Johnston Park used to look like. It's a totally different thing now. Beautiful. I mean, Christmas. I wanted to stay down there and celebrate Christmas instead of going home, But this year, we've given the White Glove Award to the City of Cleveland for the work at Johnston Park. So that's for 2025. What this means is for 2026, I don't know what you guys are going to do to make up for it, and I'm sure.
Tinsley Park.
Well, I'm sure after 2 awards in a row, Bradley County is going to be looking at
And the new park in the fourth.
competing with you guys.
Streak, though.
What's that?
We're on a winning streak.
You are on a winning streak, and hey, the girls at Bradley Central three-peated. Why can't you guys three-peat?
So let's, any questions for Alan?
Alan, I just want to compliment you on the luncheon. Councilwoman McKenzie was there, Councilman Casta and I was there. And it was a great event to get to attend.
And our city
Joe
manager was there.
And some city staff was there.
Right.
And y'all did a great job with it and appreciate everything that you do in the community.
one other thing is, though the mayor could not be there because he had prior commitment, he came afterwards and helped clean up. So,
He came for the dessert.
well, I just wanted to let everybody know that you were there too.
I think Marcia wanted to say something.
So, I don't know what we're doing here.
We're just flying.
Oh, okay.
I just want to thank the council for supporting these two projects, and I want to say thank you to Brian Turner for his excellent design. These are just beautiful parks. They're both in my district, and so I'm thankful for that. And I want to thank Keep Cleveland and Bradley County Beautiful for awarding us with these. Thank you very much.
And Marcia is one of our board members, so we appreciate her service as well. And a couple of things. I was really excited to hear Joe talk about the cleanup that the city's planning on doing. Hopefully we can partner with you guys on that. And don't forget the tree day, tree giveaway Saturday, because we're involved in that as well.
Marcia, y'all come up here with Brian and get a picture. Seth, you got a camera?
Yeah, we're good. We won't tell anyone.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Let's move
Brian
down
gets
center
Brian
a
gets
little
some
bit.
more accolades.
Don't get my profile.
You want to stand up there behind them? We can get everybody in it.
There we go. Or mark at Lee Tom.
We can get everybody in it.
I was standing.
3, 1, 2, 3. Just 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
You can just put them right there. All right, on with the Sammy the Slaw Dog will be here, and then we have a proclamation for the Cleveland High School Wrestling State Champions that will be here as well at 3 o'clock. We're excited about that. The consent agenda, these are all items that the council has voted on previously, but the zoning ordinance 2510 request from Charles Pittner for consideration of zoning ordinance 1.16 acres on Fair Street. We have final passage of ordinance 2511 requesting by Real Life Village for consideration ordinance to amend PUD 47 to remove the 50-foot right-of-way dedication requirement. We have item 7C, zoning ordinance 2512, concerning a request by the multiple property owners for consideration of a zoning ordinance 3.37 acres on property on Valley Head Road for R1, from R1 to PUD 63. 7D is a passage of ordinance 2513, considering request by Dennis Botts for consideration of an ordinance to abandon a section of the unopened right-of-way located along Johnston Boulevard, ending at the city limits. And then we have item 7E. Robert, is there anything we need to know about the Dennis Botts abandonment thing? Has he done all the right processes according to that? Does staff have any concerns with that? Okay. Item 7E is an extension of the laundry and dry cleaning with Champion Cleaners for additional 1-year term. We have F, Resolution 2522, authorizing a letter of support for the Tennessee Health Facilities Commission. So we took that one off. So F is off. Then we have G, Resolution 2523, authorizing conveyance of 2 parcels to the Cleveland Land Bank Authority. Dustin, can you come up and tell us what this is all about real quick?
Thank you. Yes, these 2 properties have been back taxes, dilapidated, very problematic properties in the past, and the city took ownership of them about 2 years ago, at which time I was still with City Fields, and they have built several houses right in close proximity to that and have a total of 6 houses that border those 2 lots that are new build, new construction. And at the time, we had talked about the city potentially donating those lots to City Fields, but we have a land bank authority now that is made for this sort of thing. And so the city would donate them to the land bank, and we would go through a process of selling them or donating those properties to be developed. These were some of the worst properties in the city in terms of crime and drug activity, and now they're vacant. They are just empty land, and they would be redeveloped with approximately 3 houses potentially. There's enough space for there to be 3 single-family homes.
This is a perfect example of the benefit of a city the size of Cleveland having a land bank authority.
Yeah.
It's been used extensively in Memphis, maybe some other smaller
Oak
communities,
Ridge.
Oak Ridge, I believe. But the land bank authority allows properties like this that may have tax issues, may have title issues.
Yes.
For all of that to be cleared through a court process, and then that property become usable property again, and property that winds back up on the tax roll.
Right.
Instead of a tax delinquency. I don't know if we're gonna have to go through that process on these 2 properties or not, but the Land Bank Authority is the ideal place for situations like this to be handled. And I wanna commend this council for having the foresight to see the benefit of having a Land Bank Authority. And we've probably been in operation, what, 1.5 years now?
A little over a year, yeah.
And we are in the closing days of a court process on one of the first properties we looked at that was going to take a rundown piece of property and convert it to something that's very usable in the neighborhood.
Well, but I think it's even more complicated than that. It was a property owner that no one could get a hold of, or there was
Over 10 years of unpaid taxes to the city and county,
And
and
it wasn't gonna get any better.
California owner that's
Yeah,
never.
it's just another tool in the
It's just
toolbox.
another tool with the
Yeah,
toolbox.
to
David.
clean up neighborhoods.
You're exactly right.
And improve the neighborhoods, yeah.
Councilman Goff, you had a question?
Yeah, just curious how exactly you go through the process of acquiring these properties. I guess traditionally a tax lien would go through the court system, be auctioned off.
These were purchased at an auction a couple of years ago. City Fields at that time was not prepared to do any construction, so we said, we'll just hold on to them, and when you are ready to start really building houses, to let us know. I think they're at that point, but since we have the land bank, it's just easier for us the city to convey it to the land bank authority, and then they can negotiate what the price is to sell or how to get that to them.
And it's also in an area where City Fields has made a tremendous investment already, even the property that adjoins this.
Yeah.
So it's just a win-win all the way around.
Do we as the city commonly go to the tax auction and bid for properties?
Generally not. Usually somebody wants them. There are a few that somebody doesn't.
If they're not bid on,
And
do they just-
generally, if usually there's a good reason not to take them.
do they default back to the city if no one bids on them? or-
No, so the city and county give the clerk and master what's called a no bid list. And we say, look, if nobody bids on these, we don't want them either. And they just go to the next sale. And then usually after 2 or 3 sales, somebody will buy them.
What, if I recall, and it was a minute, that these ones were impinged by very high liens.
That's right. So when the city tears down a house, then there's a lien placed on the property for the costs associated with the demolition, which makes the price generally unaffordable.
And
Although you'd be amazed at what somebody might buy.
And so we got it out of the non-compliance person that owned them, and we held them for 2 years, and then through the land bank and City Fields, they can build 3 new houses. So.
Thank you.
And like, to give an example is, we have one that Ken was just talking about a little bit, is that one will probably be put up to auction for any private user or whoever, is that it doesn't have to be city fields, that we intend to, if there's a developable piece of properties, to make it available for whoever, whoever wants to, whoever has the capital to do some investment and build the right things.
Joe, the main advantage is that you get it back on the tax roll and you get tax dollars coming in where it's sitting there with nothing coming in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And you stop that accrual of bad taxes.
yeah.
And one, I think we've had a number of conversations. I know the land bank too. The goal is try to distribute those properties equitably among. Sometimes it's nice in the right situations to have to be able to have some affordable housing, because they have some tools that they can give help with the loans, and they can make sure that it's family owned and operated. So occasionally that's what we try to help.
Mayor, can I ask if we can break from this and the reports from council will give us 10 minutes before we adjourn to 3 o'clock meeting
I would second that.
Sure.
on that part? I don't think there's anything else pressing that you need to go over, is it, Joe?
There's a couple things.
Okay, go ahead, continue then.
We'll just move the reports to council to the 3.
Yeah, it'll take me 30 seconds.
Okay.
Just to point out that we have the Lenox Hills, Chattanooga Gas agreement to just move that. And then item 8A is that the property over on APD 40. And then, and this is what I want to say, is that item 10A, I think we're still working on the new website for the Cleveland Regional Jetport. We'll want to probably bring that back in a couple weeks to do that. So 10A will come off the agenda if the council allows that.
So for a future calendar.
Yes. And then you have the other 2 items, and that's all I had.
All right. Any comments or questions for Mr. Fivas about the 3 o'clock agenda? Councilman Cast, if there's no objection, we'll move the reports of council members to the 3 o'clock.
No problem.
Any opposition with that? All right. We stand adjourned.